Here today I have some Beyma speakers, which is a model SCK-65. This is a new product for us. This has predominantly been a very big product over in Europe. This company, if you don't know about them, their headquarters are located in Spain, so they are a very big company in Europe. If you look at them and Google them, you'll find that there's a lot of stuff going on over in the European sector for this company. Only just these last few years have they been dribbling over slowly into the States, and they're becoming much more and more popular, especially with the guys who like to create really deep, emphasized front stage systems where they have like an 8-inch, 6-inch, 4-inch, 3.5-inch with a tweeter, 5-6-way component speaker systems, which I love. I've always liked emphasis on front stage, minimal rear fill, and a little sub to fill out an audio system. So for me, working with a product like this, it's like a hand in a glove. I like that kind of stuff. This company here, I've noticed on some of their products, they do have a CEA rating. However, on the manual and the paperwork, I do not see where this particular product is actually CEA rated. So I'm not really sure about that. However, when I do read over the manuals on this product, I tend to believe that this company is pretty truthful with their ratings. Unlike, a lot of American companies like the Kenwoods and the Pioneers and the Alpines and all the sellout companies that are just trying to move boxes. The good stuff, the higher end, top shelf kind of companies are going to keep it more real. They're going to stick with the CEA ratings. They're going to give you the lower ratings instead of these big inflated, 400 watts RMS and all this other crap, which is all bullshit, as we all know. This company, just by looking at the manual, tells you a lot. It always tells me a lot. Just like when I look at amplifiers, I look at the fuses. I mean, you can't have an amplifier saying it's 1,000 watts when it has a 10 amp fuse in it, because according to my math, 10 amps times 12 volts is 120, where the other 880 watts comes from. That's the kind of stuff I try to steer away from. Stuff I try to review and tell people, beware, don't buy that stuff. It's bad stuff. Don't get that. When you see stuff like this, although it has the lack of clarity on the CEA ratings, which I'm very fond of, and I'm glad that they finally created something like that for the electronics industry, because it's nice to have truth in selling, especially some days with people, consumers that have a whole lot of money to spend. They see something that looks good, costs a lot of money, and they must say, well, it must be good, it costs a lot. Then when they get it, it doesn't perform a whole lot. So with Beyma, this is pretty good. It's a good start whenever you see stuff like this. Now, this is a system where you have a 6.5-inch woofer, grill, passive crossover, and you have a tweeter. Now, the way the whole system works out is that you have your crossover, which is your audio input, and you're going to have a dedicated output to your woofer. Then on your tweeter side, some people want to have it full in, full out, and just have it set flat, so that way the crossover is going to set it. With this one here, you have full in, full out, unchanged. Or they also have these capacitors built into the board where you can do -3 decibels and -6 decibels outputs, because what happens is sometimes the tweeter can be a little too bright, too harsh, a little just overwhelming, a little overpowering for some people's ears. They don't like it. So to rectify that problem, they set that up. Now, another thing I noticed on these crossovers, unlike some of the other European companies that I've researched, even the older Diamond Audio Hex, which used to be made in Germany, if you remember way back when, they are a different animal, different price point, of course, and everything else. This here is a glass fiber cone, which you'll notice kind of looks like a Kevlar, but like on a Diamond Hex speaker, which is a flagship Diamond Audio back in the days, the real German stuff, was a cookie Kevlar. It was kind of like a wafer cookie. You'll see this one right here. It doesn't have a whole lot of flex, which is the whole purpose of Kevlar, which should be very light, rigid, and it should be very good with tonality. This one here is going to be very similar, except it's just a weave, okay? It is stiff, it is rigid, and you can see by the lack of the size of the magnet structure that it doesn't have a whole lot to pull the speaker out once it's excursion. And this one here is rated at 3 millimeters of excursion, so this speaker is going to throw out some serious power once she's running. And another thing about the speaker system is that when you go back to the specifications, the tweeter only rates itself at 20 watts RMS. However, on the woofer side, you got 80 watts RMS. So this is supposed to regulate all that stuff, and that's good, because a lot of times you'll find a component speaker system such as this, and they'll rate everything the same, one and the same, and that's definitely not the truth. It can never be that way. The one thing that I would like to see in this speaker system that it does not have is on the input, it has the woofer output and the adjustable tweeter output. However, it does not have a separate mid-bass output, slave output, so that way you can have, say, an 8-inch output which you could run into a separate crossover or a passive crossover block, whatever, for an 8-inch. Then have your 6.5 running through the crossover here, tweeter running respectively, however you tune it through the wiring terminals on the board respectively, and have yourself a nice 3-way component speaker system. I would really like to see that done. However, being creative, as you most surely are, you can come up with your own little way of doing that. So I think this particular system would be ideal and cover all the frequencies perfectly accurately if you were to add an 8-inch into the speaker system. So it's my little, you know, quirk about the system, if you want to put it that way. Even it's not that bad. I could figure out how to do it. I'm sure most people, if you can't, Google it, email us. There's 100 ways to do the same thing through electronic crossovers, filters, boards, whatever. You could do it. So moving along, this is a 6.5-inch. They also come in a 5-inch version. This one here is rated, like I said, 80 watts RMS. What else? 4 ohms, of course. I want to talk about that. Free air baffle, just installed in your door panel. Adding some dynamite would be recommended, just to keep it clean and keep the rattling down to a bare minimum. Aside from that, this speaker crossover, you might want to wrap this up in something to protect it from water, because it is, you know, out there. It's totally exposed to any kind of moisture, which if you're mounting this in a door panel, it could be troublesome. I would probably recommend you mount this somewhere inside your vehicle. Aside from that, you got these little grills, which are a little unique looking, you know, but again, that's European style, I guess. That's what they do, kind of like the Polk Momo, I guess, what you might call it. Tweeter, you have a woven type of style, silk style on the crossovers. There's no aluminum, no metal on here, so they're trying to give you a nice flat, pure type of sound. So going this with the glass fiber cone combination from the woofer, it's going to give you a nice combination of sound for sure. So you got your flush mounting ring here, angled, lockdown tabs for the back, standard hardware that's included with the component speaker system. These are under 200 bucks. We have them. They're on the site. They're live. They sound really good, take a lot of good clean power. So if you're looking for a good alternative, something out there that's new to the US market from Europe, give the Beyma system a look at. This is the SCK-65.